Welcome to the team tactics talk for Fulham away. Welcome, Sam. Thank you for joining us again.
All right.
First of all, tell us kind of your situation on this game coming up, and then we'll start getting into the team stuff.
Yeah, we just watched. I think the last game was Everton, wasn't it? At home, draw 2-2. Probably not the result we thought we wanted and what wanted to get. So Fulham again, I think is a massive. We can't come away with a loss. We have to come away with something. Because when you look at the teams around us, even like Forest, I think Forest could get something at Southampton, and if they get all 3 points, that pushes them ahead of us, and it will knock us back down into that almost bottom 3 spot. So I do think we need quite a big change up, because I saw a lot of lackluster players against Everton that I thought were really key to the reason we didn't get all 3 points, to be honest with you.
Yeah, I think the last few days actually, I've been a bit more positive on the look at the last 4 games, because with the last 3 games we've just played and we've not lost since Dean Smith's come in. It's kind of gave me a bit of hope that, as much as they are going to be hard games, like so Liverpool and Newcastle, for me, I don't know why, but I can see us not losing them. Do you know what I mean? We've in the last 3 games we've done well to stay in the game, and we've kept the points that we got in the first place. So for me, the next few games, I honestly think we could stay unbeaten. It's going to be hard, I know that, but
Fulham
as long as we stay unbeaten, we probably do stay up.
I think if you look at Liverpool's last game against Fulham, they just played each other, and Liverpool won 1-0 through a dive. Let's be honest. I'm not sure how the penalty was given on Núñez. It was a dive. Again, those 2 teams, realistically, when you say Fulham, they only lost 1-0 to Liverpool from a penalty, which kind of gives me hope going into Fulham game, saying, well, we've got something there to go beat them. And then it also gives me hope for the Liverpool game, where they only just beat Fulham for 1-0 last minute kind of penalty that shouldn't have been a penalty. So those 2 games for me, we can get something out. It just really depends on which teams show up, because we all know that it's a mentality game, and you can have the best players on the pitch. We see it all the time where teams like Leicester go out and thrash Man City all across the world. So it's not unheard of for us to do that. And I think it is a real mentality shift. I just think my biggest problem is the players that we've got now, the key ones, a lot of them have got their foot out the door already. Then I think their head's not in Leicester mode. I've seen someone like, and I hate to say it, but someone like Maddison, Tielemans for a while. I've not seen him be in Leicester mode for ages. Maddison, the past few games, I don't know if it's his confidence, but he's definitely looking like he's got a foot out the door, ready to go. And it is sad to see, but it's a tough one to take, because they're our best players, but we have to see where we go forward. I just don't know if some of these lads that, our best 11 do have the right mentality, really.
And then, like I say, before we get into the lineups, we're saying that you say that, but say that half the players aren't kind of putting 100% in, we're still drawing games, and we're still getting the points we need out of games.
We have
not
been
the greatest amount of points, but we're getting.
It's the teams we're playing.
If any of the players that we were talking about aren't only given like 60%, if they played 100%, we probably could win half these games. So it's kind of that situation.
My only slight worry is that we've just played Leeds and Everton, and the best we could do is draw against them. So someone like Fulham and Liverpool and Newcastle and West Ham, who are all higher than us they're higher than us in the table. They've picked up a lot more points throughout the season, so we need the points more than every team we've got coming up do. Really, Fulham, their season's as good as done. They're not going to do anything mid-table season, maybe 9th, 10th. See what happens for them. Liverpool pushing for top 4 with the amount of games left. I physically don't think they're going to do it, because they've got 4 games left, and I think maybe it's like an 8-point gap still between them and 4th. So they could do it, but that's if results go their way. Newcastle, again, they're sitting fairly comfortably. They are probably going to get top 4 this season. They probably just want to finish as high as they can. But again, that they could be beaten as either way. And then West Ham is the big game at the end of the season, really, where it could really define if whoever gets the 3 points stays up, because West Ham are far from safe themselves, really.
Yeah. So let's get into the team then, Sam. Obviously, give me your keeper and 2 fullbacks. Let's go.
Yeah. I think keeper, obvious, Danny Ward, obviously.
Danny
just
Ward,
kidding, obviously. Iverson goes in goal. It's obviously Iverson that goes in goal.
Yeah.
Man of the match against Everton, so I mean, there's no 2 ways around it. best player on the pitch against Everton, so he's back in there again.
Fullbacks.
If left back, I'm going to go Thomas again. I know it's a bit of a weird one, but I thought he had a pretty good game against Everton. Again, like I said, Reedy, Christensen's, he's a bit of a walk-in danger man. You know, when he came on for 5 minutes, and inside a minute of him coming on, he got a booking straight away. It's just, he's just, for me, he's too hot-headed for what we need right now. He's one that needs just a little bit of time and practice to, you know, at least calm himself down in those situations. He just gave the ball away again in before Everton game. Whoever he played for, I've forgotten now. Leeds, he gave the ball away too many times. So for me, Thomas thought he had a pretty decent game against Everton, and I'd still stick him in.
And then right back, before I get into my team, who's your pick?
Right back, it's probably Castagna. I know Pereira might be back fit. From what I've heard, that he's on the ropes of coming back, but I think you just stick with what's familiar. I wouldn't try and risk Pereira if he's not 100%. But if he's 100%, it probably would be Pereira, but I'm still going to stick with Castagna for now.
Yeah, going into my team then, it's obviously going to be the Everton in goal. I think we've all seen now within the last, 5 or 6 games since he's been back in, he's been 10 times better than what Danny Ward has been. And even the video we saw the other day of when we played Bournemouth away, he wasn't even a save, was it? He just jumped and just expected to hit him. So, yeah, Iverson in goal. Left back, I'm going to go Christensen. I just feel like Luke Thomas just isn't strong enough. But, yeah, for me, Christensen goes back in. Yes, he's quite hot-headed at times, but I think you need the fight and the passion in him as much as it does kind of, I don't know, get him a yellow card at times. For me, you still got to put him in there. He's got to use his fight. He's got to use the passion he's got for coming into the team to hopefully get them blocks in on the corners, because I think that's what we struggled with last week when we get a load of crosses coming in and no one was blocking them. I think with him, I think he'd do everything he can to just get that block, even if it does cost it a yellow card. Right back, I'm going to go Castagna. I think it's the only choice at the moment. Obviously, Ricardo, if he is back fit, I would probably play him, but we don't know that. He said he should be back in the squad, so I'm not going to risk him at this point, fitness-wise. But since Ricardo was back in the team, I think we did find that he was probably our best right back. But now he's just coming back from fitness. There's no point putting him in.
I agree with you that if Pereira's fit, he goes in, because the way we've been playing is, you know, more wing backs, and Castagna, he's a pretty decent defender, and he's good at getting up the pitch, but he's not very good at tracking back at times. You know, he's a bit slow to. I mean, you do have to have pretty good fitness to be run all the way up the pitch, and if you lose it instantly to run all the way back into position, it's a tough role to be a wing back. But Pereira, you know, he's done it pretty consistently. My biggest thing is, again, even if Pereira is fit, I would just stick with Castagna, because we need to know stick with familiar style of football a little bit. You know, have a bit of consistency in there. And we know what Castagna's going to get you.
Yeah, go on then. Centre back to you, Sam. This is going to be a tough call because there's been so many different choices. And
yeah, Evans might be back fit. So, again, if it ain't break, don't fix it. Soyuncu, again, he's our best centre back at the club, so he gets into the team.
The best centre back at the club, but yeah, he's going.
Yeah, I know. Thanks, Rogers. Appreciate that one, mate. Probably put Fies in there again as well. I think Fies has been okay. Like I said, they're two very similar players, Soyuncu and Fies. So, but like I said, I would maybe have played Sousa with one of the two, if not Evans, because it's a bit change of style of football. But they've both played pretty well. So we've not lost in 3 games. So I don't see much changes going into a game apart from a few players.
Yeah, so you're going with the same back four we played against Everton?
Same back four.
Yeah, no worries. To my team then, I'm going to put him in, Suter. I'm sorry, it's a height for me. Yes, as much as he might not be fast. For me, he's got to be in there for the height. And the amount of times last week we got killed for crosses. Yes, we defended him well, but there was times, like I say, the Iwobi goal that we conceded. If someone like Suter was there, it wouldn't have been anywhere near Iwobi. So again, as much as he's not fast, it's got to be the height. And someone like Fulham, as much as Mitrovic isn't in the team because he's still banned, I still see Fulham as a more of an aerial threat than more of a passing game. Do you know what I mean? Like we're trying to be more of a passing style team, but they're not. So for me, we've got to have the height in there, and then obviously Sunchu until the end of the season, he's always going to be in that back line for me. But that's just how I see it. So I've changed 2 people in the back line from Everton. I just think like we need it. I just can't see Thomas getting back into the side. I don't think he had the greatest of game against Everton. And again, Faze, I can't deny that he is decent, but like you said, I think last week or the week before, he is still a hot-headed player like Christiansen.
Yeah, I think we should have to be careful with defence because, we saw we gave a penalty away inside 10 minutes for quite a silly penalty for Castagna to give away, really. He was nowhere near the ball. He just pushed over, I don't think it was Calvert-Lewin, wasn't it? He just straight up shoved him over on the floor, and it's obviously going to be a penalty. Their second goal came from, again, we play very tight at the back, and we always seem to not be shipping out as high as we do on left back, right back. We always seem to be tucking in on the edge of the box and allowing them to attack, and that's where Iwobi scored his second goal because Thomas was, he was a bit out of position. For me, if Christensen was not as hot-headed, I'd have him in the team. I just think at the moment in time we don't need that because it's going to give us a red card.
You need someone more cautious.
I'm not saying Thomas is our best option. If James Justin was fit or in a 25-man team, I'd shove him straight back in there. I just think Christensen's a young lad. He's very passionate, and that's great to see. But in the stages of our career this season, this is exactly what we don't need. Really, if give a free kick away, we know we're not great at set pieces. If we give a penalty away, we know we're probably not going to save it, as most clubs don't. If we get a red card, we're down to 10 men. It's just one of those things where I could just see something going wrong from Christensen if we play him, and from Thomas, I just see a little bit more calmness at the back.
Yeah, and then going into midfield, then Sam.
Yeah, so this is one where I'm pretty much just going to play with all midfielders for the game because Barnes, since he's come back, has done absolutely nothing. Tete, nothing on the wing. Patson Daka didn't do anything on the wing as well. So I'll start off. I don't really know where to go with this team. I'm kind of winging it. So let's go. I'll put Samari in there as my first central midfielder position. Again, I thought you had
more defensive role or
no, just a central midfielder.
Okay, yeah.
I thought he had a pretty decent game against Everton. Again, nothing special this time around. I say it wasn't too much. There wasn't too much to offer from him, but I think still that's one of those things. If you don't see him do anything bad, then he's had an all right game at least.
Yeah, and then what's your other midfielder before we get into our
team? So, I will put not James Maddison, Yuri Tielemans as an interesting midfielder. He's not done too bad again. I think he's lost a little bit of his edge. I don't know if that's because he doesn't want to get injured. As a lot of us have said, he might be looking at if he gets injured, he doesn't want to. There's no one's who's going to sign him, kind of thing. Who's going to give him a contract if he's pulls up with a big injury? So he's kind of saving himself a bit. But I'd play him. I just wouldn't give him the captaincy. That's my biggest thing. He doesn't deserve to be captain for Leicester.
Okay, going into my team, I have got my team written down here, so I'm hoping to see it. So I'm putting Mendy in the more of the DM role. I think we've missed it with that sort of role the last few games. Yes, I've been a bit more attacking than my last few lineups without a more of a defensive player, but it's now struggling because we keep conceding first. We need to get rid of that mentality and we need to stop conceding first realistically. So getting more defensive role in there will hopefully stop us from getting that ball and getting the attacking players into the back line quicker. So for me, Mendy goes in there, and then I will put my next player in Dennis Pratt. I think he's the one that's replacing Yuri Tielemans for me. Yuri Tielemans just isn't doing anything great for us at the moment. So for me, he gets dropped. It's like Dewsbury Hall the last few games when he was playing, he had to get dropped. So it's the same with Yuri Tielemans for me. He's just not good enough at the moment. So I've took him out of the team. But yeah, there's my next two midfielders. We'll go back to your team for your next two.
Yeah, I think it's a little bit of a weird one. So I'm going to have two attacking midfielders instead of wingers this time. So James Maddison as right attacking midfielder. Again, I don't mean as a winger at all. I want him to, this is central. I just mean we're playing through the middle of the park.
So you want him
So
central?
I would, but I'm going to have someone next to him as well. So it's almost like a 4-2-2 to begin with.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I would put James Maddison as one of them. And I agree with you. I think Pratt, he's looked pretty solid and I think he'll do a decent job. So for me, I'd put Dennis Pratt as our other attacking midfield option to play through the middle of the park a bit more. I think, our threats, when you saw the goals that we scored the past few, have been quick counter-attacking football, straight through the middle of the pitch, breaks like that. And if we overload the midfield and just play that way rather than trying to shift out to the wing, I just think we're going to get a lot more goals by doing it that way.
Yeah, I completely agree. That's why Barnes is just not in my team this week. We've said from last week, everyone was asking for him back because of stats and everything that goes aside it and say that he deserves to be in there. But for me, every time he gets put into that lineup, he just doesn't do anything. I called him Mr. Invisible last week for a reason, and he just wasn't great at all. So he does get dropped for me. I'm going to put my next midfielder in, then I'm going to go Sumare. I think again he didn't do as great last week, but for me he's probably one of the better players in the field at the moment. He's the one that's actually given anything to sort the team out. Like I say, Yuri's not doing it, Dewsbury Hall's not doing it, and then Maddison obviously will be more central for me, in his normal position in the central role. So that'd be my midfield. I think it's quite a balanced midfield. You've got Pratt and Maddison more attacking, and then you've got Sumari and Mendy more of a defensive, but obviously Sumari, like we said, box to box. So it's quite a well worked midfield there for me. I don't know if you change anyone in that team, but
I do. I like the team as well. Like I said, we've got a lot of midfielders. I think we're going for the same kind of mentality where our best strength is through the pitch and not on the edges of the pitch with Barnes and that as wingers. So I pretty much agree with the team, minus a couple of positions that we've changed ourselves. But I do think that for Fulham, it's definitely the way forward to push through the middle of the pitch.
Yeah, and then the last but not least, the attack.
Yeah, I think one man, Vardy, he's been on fire. He does get into the team again. So again, I want to play with two strikers. I think we are very beneficial. I'd love it to be Nacho, but obviously he's injured. Daka's not played. It does have to be Daka. I don't want to see Daka on the wing anymore. He's a striker for a reason. It's a bit like all the players that we have. Don't shift them out into places that are unfamiliar. Just keep them in positions they know. Daka's not a winger, so you wouldn't put him in there. I wouldn't play with a winger personally. I think we need to be stronger through the middle of the pitch. Again, I see some comments in the chat about playing Barnes and whatnot, but I just don't see where we really go from here with playing wingers, and it just, for me, it doesn't work. It didn't work in the past 2 games with Barnes, so I don't see how we go forward really with that, with wingers, at least to start with.
Yeah, like I say, once you play someone like Barnes on one wing, you have to play another winger, and that is going to either be Tete or you have to play Maddison out wide, and it's not his usual position. So again, you're kind of already killing yourself in the team by putting someone like Barnes in there.
Yeah. I think a lot of people would say to put Barnes back into the team, but for me, I don't see what he's been offering us. I think it's just a wasted position the past couple of games.
Yeah, and then obviously I'm going to put my main 2 in. Obviously, there's only 2 choices at the moment. But again, I'm starting to come around with Vardy again. There's obviously reasons why he hasn't been firing this season, and I think we're starting to see why, and that is Brendan Rodgers. I kind of tried to back Rodgers as much as I could to say that whatever's going wrong, we just need to back whatever it is. But we've now seen that there's so many issues with certain players and why they're not doing well. But now Vardy's back in the team and started firing again. You can see there's always a chance he's going to score.
Well, just to this comment, I think I like see my face over it a little bit. Vardy for captain for me again. Tielemans, who's in my team, is obviously not in your team. For me, he doesn't deserve to be captain. He's a player that's 100% leaving in 4 games' time. So why on earth is he the captain? How do we motivate the current Leicester players by saying, your captain's a lad who's leaving in 4 games because he thinks he's bigger than the club? And he does think he's bigger than the club. He would have signed a new contract by now. If he breaks his leg against Fulham, he's effed his career up for a little bit, because who's going to give him a contract apart from Leicester if he breaks his leg? We're the only club, I think, to give him a contract extension if he was to break his leg. He's in my team, but if he's captain, I'll be very disappointed. For me, out of all the players on the pitch, if you're not going to give it to Vardy, I think the next best player, maybe Castagna. I don't know who else would really be captain, because
I think your only choice other than that is Madison. But I know it's not the greatest of choices,
Madison,
but that's your only
he's not
choice.
A captain. He's not a captain though. If you have someone who needs, if you want someone who's experienced and at least calm on the pitch, I think if it's not Vardy, then I don't think it should be Telemans. I just don't think he's captain material for saying he's a player who's leaving in 4 days. It's not really what you'd want to hear from a captain. Like, how motivated can someone be if he's leaving in 4 games anyway? So it's just, for me, a tough one where it really does just stem from we need players that are comfortable and familiar with the club. I've just seen Council say give captaincy to Cags, but he's going. He's the way that, again, the same as the elements, he's going to go.
But then again,
so I don't see the point.
I get that, but the way I'm looking at it is it's a good shout, because he's the only one really for me that's given everything he can. As much as he's leaving, he's still giving everything he can until the end of the season. So maybe that is a choice to put him in there.
He is playing well, and it's fine, because obviously if he didn't play at all this season, he was still going to go to Atletico Madrid. He signed that prenup contract, where he was going to go at the end of the season anyway. So I understand that, but again, for me, if Vardy's on the pitch, he's your senior player, he's your most experienced. If Vardy's on the pitch, Vardy's captain for me. I don't see two ways around it.
Vardy has to be captain if he starts.
Out of that whole team, he's the only one from the Premier League winning side, Reedy. I mean, that says a lot, doesn't it? I think it says we're coming out of our golden era a little bit.
Yeah, I agree. Like I say, Vardy has to be captain for me now. Obviously, with my team, Yuri Tillemans is not there. I'm not giving the captaincy to Madison. He really disappointed me on the last week. Obviously, he can't really. Can he help the penalty? I guess not. But again, in one of the biggest moments of the season going forward now, you don't give Madison the penalty. So for me, you've got to give Vardy the captaincy, and he might make the choice if we do get a penalty against Fulham or in the next 3 games after that. So.
Yeah, I mean, we've obviously heard all the things about Madison. If he wanted to celebrate with his twins, what Dean Smith said, no, he's just been the number 1 penalty taker at the moment. I think it's all a bit weird to say stuff like that. I think when you got Telemans and Vardy on the pitch, you are week in, week out penalty takers. I don't see why they're the ones not taking them. For me, it sounds a bit like a cover-up from Dean Smith, but if that's what he says, that's what he says. I think if it is just a crucial moment for players to try and be heroes of the club, they need to play as a team and get us out of this relegation battle and not have individual performances, but play together as a team now.
Yeah, I agree. And then obviously last before we do finish, good notes are that Willian and not Willian. I think it's just Mitrovic now who's out for Fulham. So that's good news for us. Hopefully we can get a good start to the game and may hopefully actually score the first goal.
Like I said to you, really, Fulham have got nothing to play for this season. They're not gonna get European spot. Let's be honest. They're not gonna get relegated. They're gonna have a comfortable mid-table season now without Mitrovic, obviously, because he got his silly red card, 10-game match ban, whatever it was. So they're not playing for anything. That doesn't mean they're going to take it easy, because obviously they're still up at in the 8th, 9th position because they're decent. Remember, they've just come up from the Championship. This is their first season in the Prem, and to be doing as well as they have been is quite, astonishing, really. So that it's not going to be an easy game. And again, our biggest threat is just don't concede inside 20 minutes, because that's what we've been doing for the past every game. It'd be nice to keep a clean sheet for once, really, to be honest with you.
Yeah, again, it's all that's where you have to start, really, isn't it? We've done well in the last 3 games. Yes, it might have been the greatest of points against Everton and Leeds, but we've got points out of it, and you've got to look forward with that being positive now and say that as long as we keep picking up points here or there, we should be safe, on paper, because obviously we've worked out what other teams have got. Obviously, Leeds have got an awful run in. Forest haven't got the greatest running after the Southampton game. So as much as we don't want to rely on other teams, if, for instance, Forest does lose to Southampton or they get a draw, that will lead us perfectly into the Fulham game now and try and at least get a point or win to try and breach the gap, I guess, as well from the bottom four, I guess.
Yeah, I know what you mean. It is a tough match against Fulham, and is it the easiest one we've got out of the four coming up games?
Yes.
I'm probably going to say yes. Yeah, so like you said, it's very tough to judge whether we say it's the easiest one. They're still up there in 8th position. Some people have said it's harder to, like, the teams around us have been playing because they want to stay up as well, so they might be tougher games, but I just didn't see it. I didn't see them being tougher games. I saw us throwing away a couple points extra against the teams. So we're going to Fulham on Monday. Obviously, it's in a few days from now, Reedy. It's a massive game. It's bank holiday, 3:00. You're going down. For me, we can't lose it, really. We need to come with at least a point because the teams around it, like Everton, Leeds, Forest, and those are the teams that could go down. You know, we've got a 50-50 chance whether we go down or not because there's 2 teams out of the 4 that will go down. Leeds, Everton, and Forest have all got fairly difficult games, and so do we, but you probably say they've got harder teams coming up. Forest, for me, have got quite a fairly decent one. They've got Southampton. I think they can get 3 points from Southampton if they really try. I think they can get a win because I think it's at Forest, isn't it? They could beat Southampton. Chelsea are bang average rubbish form. Forest could easily get a draw if not beat Chelsea this season. So again, and then they've got Arsenal, which they probably would say they'd lose to Arsenal, but if they can get 4 points out of the next 2 games, really, as Forest,
they're probably safe.
They're probably safe. So if we don't if Forest beat Southampton and we lose to Fulham, we are in a real pickle because it's between us and 2 other teams to be in the final 2 spots. And again, our goal difference could be the saviour this season.
Yeah, I agree. Just a few more comments before we do leave. Matthew says, isn't Pereira injured for Fulham as well? Yes, he is. That's another big loss for them, actually. I'm guessing that Pereira guy who used to play for Man U. He's been doing well for them this season. Ty says, I like to see Barnes alongside Vardy. His pace through the middle could be deadly. Again, the word there you've got to look at is could be. For me, Barnes is not doing anything. He might come in one game and be spectacular, but at the moment, we don't want maybes. You want a team that who will get goals, and we need to.
Again, I wouldn't be upset if Barnes was up front because if in my team I do have Dak up front, but that's purely because Nacho's injured. After Dak's performance against Everton, I think he didn't have anything really to make me convinced that he needs to be in that starting 11, but I've put him in there because I think we just need to play 2 strikers and we need to play players in our strongest position. I think that really says something about Barnes, really, that I'd rather play Dak up front than Barnes on the wing because I just don't see anything from Barnes.
That must say something when you don't like Dak, you're still putting him in.
I don't get me wrong. Barnes has been a pretty good player this season, but we're in a crucial part of the season where if he's on the wing, literally as invisible as he was against Everton, what's the point in playing him? Have someone on the pitch or have a different position open up. Again, if he starts up front, Barnes does, maybe he'll do a little bit better, but it's a tough one to call, really. Again, we'll probably see a very similar team to Everton and not what we've picked today because they'll probably think it's the point we've just done the past 3 games, the same kind of team where we've beat Wolves and we drew the other 2 games. And I just want to say we did beat Wolves without Maddison and the 2 games he's back in, we draw both of them. So if he gets dropped, I wouldn't be the maddest person in the world if Maddison was to get dropped because, again, he's one of those players which I think his head's turned a little bit by the fact he's going to go in 4 games as well.
Yeah, and then the last comment of the day before we do end the show. Nick, morning, just like to say I hope you're eating your words regarding Vardy. Past it, you said, think he should be only used as a sub, if at all. That was to me. I'm not going to deny it. I don't think you would even say, Sam, that before Vardy scored the last 2 games, I think even you agree that he just, as much as you could probably see something still in him, he wasn't scoring, and that's why I had to say that.
I think that pretty much sums up
using more of a sub.
I think that sums up the whole season, really, not just Vardy, because it's been Daka as well and Nacho. all three of them, our top goal scorers, Barnes, then Vardy. Our strikers are nowhere near being the top goal scorers this season, which does really say something. But as soon as Rodgers goes and we're playing through the middle, Vardy's bagged a couple goals. Like I said, we did a post on Leicester Fan the other day that if Rodgers was sacked or if the tactics would change and if players were in the team, how many points would we be on now? Because if you had Soyuncu and Iverson in the team and Vardy used the right tactics correctly, and even Samari was being played correctly through the middle of the pitch, I think we could easily be on an extra 10 to 15 points right now than what we are on. But again, that's here nor there. It's not what's happened, so we just have to take what's happened with a bit of stride. And 3 points against Fulham really would be massive, and it would really clinch us very close to almost being safe, I'd say. I think 33, 34, 35 points would be the mark to hit to be safe this year, considering what the other teams have got. It depends if Leeds and Everton get anything. Obviously, Leeds have got Man City at Man City, but they've got Sam Allardyce as a new manager. Is a new manager bounce back going to do anything? You laugh, but like I said, the little teams can beat the big teams at times. We've done it. Man City, a lot of pressure to keep the title for themselves. So Leeds could get something at Man City. Again, when Rodgers said it's in our hands, it is the complete opposite now. It is not in our hands at all. We've got the goal difference, but if we're losing points, we really need to beg that the other teams around us also don't pick up any points.
Yeah, again, like I say, the last comment I'm going to say is the fact that, like I say, if you do get the Fulham win there, it's going to give massive pressure onto the other three teams below us because, again, they've got to get points, and the more pressure that we put on them by getting points, the more they've got to try and win a game. So I think that's where we're going to end it. Sam, appreciate you coming on for another tactics talk, and we'll probably be live after the Fulham game for a match review. If not, Phil will be doing this show on match review as well. But make sure you check out the watch along and all the content before the game as well. So I appreciate you coming on, and we'll catch you on the next one. See you in a bit.
Cheers.